Hello and welcome to Chapter 14, where we're going to talk about integrated marketing communications. And this is a buzzword in marketing today that you're going to hear a lot about in the future. So I think that this chapter will be very helpful because you're going to hear about IMC throughout your careers, no matter what discipline you land in as far as careers go. Here are the learning objectives for the chapter. And so let's get started. The 5 major promotional mix tools for getting our message out to the customer, as laid out by Kotler in this textbook, are advertising, sales promotion, personal selling, public relations, and direct and digital marketing. So if you looked here at Fairmont State and took a look at advertising, we offer that in the fall. And I believe that is marketing 3320. Sales promotion is 3320 as well, and that's the name of the course, advertising and sales promotion. Personal selling is marketing 3400. We offer that in the fall. Public relations, of course, is covered in every chapter, in every course, marketing course. And direct and digital marketing, we have a new course that I'll be offering in the fall, marketing 3399, which is titled Digital Marketing. But those are the 5 major elements in the promotional mix. So let's take a look at each. The promotion mix of any company is just basically everything that they do to communicate to the customer and help build customer relationships that are going to be lasting. So everything that the firm does, it could be a newspaper ad, a television commercial, something in social media, but anything that the company does to communicate to the customer is part of the promotion mix. Okay, so the promotion mix is everything that the company does. It's a cumulative box or basket of whatever they do to communicate to the customer. Advertising is something we're all familiar with, obviously, and that's a paid form of communicating to the customer, but anything that's non-personal. So could be a print ad, some type of pop-up banner online, could be social media, could be a billboard, but any type of advertising that we actually pay for that is non-personal is what we would classify as advertising. Sales promotions or sales promotion are basically short-term incentives to purchase. So these would be 20% off, buy one, get one, buy one, get 50% off. Anything that we do to actually incentivize the customer to purchase. Discounts, coupons, displays, maybe at whenever you go to Sam's, sometimes you see these displays set up where they are actually giving you samples, demonstrations. All this is known as sales promotion. Personal selling is the personal interaction part of marketing. So a lot of companies actually have sales forces that actually go out and sell in person to customers. And you'll find this often with high ticket items such as an automobile, or in my careers, pharmaceuticals have personal sales forces. High-end office equipment like Xerox has a personal sales force. So all of these are examples of where companies have utilized personal selling to sell their products and services and to help build those customer relationships. You wouldn't find it with products or services that are very inexpensive, because then it would be very expensive for the company to do that. So you don't see anyone going door to door selling gum or anyone going door to door selling pencils. However, the gum manufacturers do have salespeople that sell to supermarket chains and convenience store chains. Obviously, that is where you would find those sales forces, but they wouldn't be interacting directly with the consumer for such low priced items. And another element in the promotional mix is public relations. So this is anything where the company gets some type, hopefully, favorable publicity. Could be a newspaper article that talks about how someone from the company volunteered at the hospital, or where your company is donating money to help with the coronavirus pandemic. And all this helps build a good corporate image. And it also helps seed other stories that people may share with others. So you could look at the internet, special events, radio and TV, social media. All of this is known as public relations. We don't pay for public relations. Public relations are free, and it's not a direct sales message. Usually public relations are created by others, and it could be created by the company, but it's not a direct sales campaign. In other words, we might have someone in our public relations department send out a press release about how our company is going to pick up litter on the side of the road on Saturday. We're not really trying to sell anything, but we want the public to know that our company cares about the community, and therefore we're going to go out and pick up litter. And obviously that would be a favorable type of news item for our firm. We can also get bad public relations. What if our company is involved in a nasty lawsuit? Or what if someone in our company commits sexual harassment and it gets reported on the news? That's bad public relations. So a public relations department inside of a company wants to maximize good, favorable PR and minimize bad or unfavorable PR. But again, it's part of the promotion mix. Then we have direct and digital marketing. And as I mentioned earlier, I'm offering a class in the fall, Marketing $33.99, called Digital Marketing. And this is a rather newer type of promotion, but it's one that is very effective and very popular among all companies. And we can actually target a little bit better because we can put certain mentions on Facebook or certain things on Instagram, and we can help build customer relationships through immediate responses from customers. If you look at a billboard, that just goes one-sided, but direct and digital marketing works both ways. And so it's even one of the advantages that it has is we can even get our customers to advertise for us and to create content that is favorable for us. So direct and digital marketing is an up-and-coming element. It's already here. It's not up and coming. It's taken over, basically. Here's learning objective number 2. So one of the things that integrated marketing communications is all about is, from a marketing standpoint, in today's business world, everything is always changing, constantly changing. Consumers are changing, marketing strategies are changing. There's been advances in digital technology. People don't buy newspapers anymore, or very rarely, or only a certain segment of the population do. A certain segment of the population only gets their news online or from Facebook. So more than ever before, consumers are better informed and they're empowered to communicate. If you go somewhere, let's say you go to dinner and you get a bad meal, you can instantly go on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter and talk about, I got this terrible meal at ABC restaurant. So this new communications model has forced companies to really look at and emphasize integrated marketing communications. Also, if you notice there on the bottom, I think this actually happened last year, but digital marketing is now the #1 advertising platform, passing up television, newspaper, and radio. So this integrated marketing communications and the new marketing communications model is all about content marketing. We are all about creating and sharing messages about our brand, messages about our company, conversations with our customers across a mix of paid, owned, earned, and shared channels. That's always changing, very fluid. So it's trying to find out, mapping this customer journey. And one of the things we talk about in digital marketing, especially in the social media segment, is this customer journey. And what do they come in contact with before they make their actual purchase? So this customer journey for Generation Z looks something like this. When they're aware of a product or they're aware of something that they might need, they may be looking at online ads, word of mouth, television ads, doing web searches, hitting social media, looking at reviews as they're doing their research for the product. They may go to the product's website or the company's site. They may start looking at e-commerce, obviously, maybe Amazon or buying directly from the companies, and they make their purchase. And then, as you can see, as you go from awareness, research, purchase, loyalty, and advocacy, where people really like your product and they actually will tell people about your product. Look at all the different touch points that they go throughout the marketing and the purchasing process. Each one of these touch points needs some type of content involved. So content marketing is about creating this content and making sure that customers are exposed to it throughout the process, throughout that journey. And it's very important. And as marketers, it's something, it's exciting, and it's because it's new, and it's opened up a lot of fields of opportunity, especially in graphic design, coding, just knowing how to build a website or how to put content on social media. All these are new and exciting areas of marketing careers. So with all this going on and all these changes occurring, there's a huge need for this integrated marketing communication to take place. So what is IMC? What are people talking about when they say IMC? Well, they're primarily just saying that everything that a company does from a marketing standpoint, all the communications that they deliver to customers, to the public, to suppliers, it needs to be clear, consistent, and compelling. That message has to have some type of draw to it. But I underline and I put in red, consistent. One of the things about IMC, or Integrated Marketing Communications, is that we want our message to look the same, feel the same, sound the same across all different types of media. So it was one of the things when President Martin first came to Fairmont State, one of her first observations was that Fairmont State University didn't have a very clear IMC. In other words, when President Martin first came to Fairmont a few years ago, Fairmont State had about 7 or 8 different logos that everyone around campus was using in their documents. You might get a document from journalism that had a totally different logo than the School of Business, or you might have a totally the nursing school may send out something that had a totally different logo and message to to students than the School of Fine Arts. So one of the things that she wanted to do, and she's accomplished that, is create a new logo. And so when she first came on, her and I discussed this, and I was asked by President Martin to get a few students, marketing seniors together to help the school design a new logo. And this falcon is what we came up with. Now, one of our versions that my students and I worked on was trying to keep what we call the flying F involved in the logo. And if you see the falcon today, right under its beak and eye is a flying F, because that flying F had been a symbol of Fairmont State for some time, and most people recognize that as Fairmont State. So we wanted to keep that. And so the new logo, which is the falcon with the flying F and the Fairmont State University with the certain font, and I forget the name of the font, but you will see this consistency across all schools, across all departments. And it's a very consistent message, clear and consistent. And that's what IMC is all about. So when you take a look at all the things that a company puts together from a marketing standpoint, from advertising, personal selling, everything in that promotion mix, sales, promotion, direct and digital marketing, public relations. We want that message to be consistent and clear, and we want it to look the same, sound the same, feel the same, sending the same message to people. And so that makes our brand more recognizable to the public, and that consistency in message is more impactful to consumers instead of having 3 or 4 different messages across different brands or so forth. So IMC is very important, and it wasn't as important maybe 30 or 40 years ago when there was only one way that we could communicate with customers, maybe through the newspaper or television. But now that we can communicate through so many different avenues, it's important. IMC is very important to keep that message consistent. Learning objective number 3. Now, I'm not going to hold you too much to this on the quiz. This is something more that you would learn from your communications class if you took Communications 2200 or 2201 or 2202. But I do want to talk about marketing as it applies to the communication process. So don't worry so much about this slide, please. But when we're developing some type of marketing communication, we go through several steps. We identify that target audience that we're trying to get our message to. Now, it could be the mass public, it could be everybody, or it could be a small demographic of the public that we're interested in, depending on what our product is or what our service is. We determine what we're trying to achieve with this communication. Are we trying to get them in the store? Are we trying to get them to look at something online? Are we trying to get them to recognize a new product that we have? Whatever it is, we have to determine what that objective is when we're creating that communication. Then we design the message. Okay, is it a television ad, or is it a billboard? Is it social media posting? What is it? And then we choose the media to send the message. Now, that 4th step has a lot to do with the first step. For instance, if I'm trying to target an audience that is, say, 18 to 24-year-olds, much like yourself, I'm going to make sure that I choose a media that you're going to hopefully see or recognize. If I put it in a newspaper, that would be the worst possible media to choose to put my communication in. You wouldn't see that. You don't look at the newspapers. But most of you look at social media. So I would probably choose the media that I would choose if I was trying to really get into contact with your age group would be social media. And then I select the message source. And we'll talk about that in a minute. But who's actually giving the message, if that's important. One of the goals of any marketing communication is to make sure that we target the consumer as they move through this buying process. And like the consumer journey that I reviewed earlier for Generation Z, all of those touch points that were involved in their journey, making sure that we are connecting as much as we can with them and making sure that they're aware that we are actually a product and service that they might consider. So as you see here, the awareness, knowledge, liking of the product, preference, conviction, and then actually purchasing the product. And so marketing communications throughout that entire process is critical. When we're designing a marketing message, and this is another model that you will hear a lot about in upcoming courses in marketing, and you will hear it again after you graduate if you deal with any type of advertising. But it's called the AIDA model, and it's really basically the goals of a message that we're creating. We want to grab attention, so that's the A, attention. We want to hold the interest of the consumer. We want to arouse their desire to maybe learn more or search more about our product or our brand. And then we want action. We want them to purchase the product, or we want them, whatever our goal is of the communication, we want them to take that action, whether it be purchasing, looking at our website, checking in on our social media, whatever it is. But the AIDA model, which is attention, interest, desire, and action, is a really good way to look at what we've created and say, okay, does it accomplish these 4 things? So when we're developing this effective marketing communication and identifying that target audience, we have to determine what are we going to say, or what will be said, how will it be said, in what setting, or how will it actually occur. If you watch a commercial on television, sometimes it's in some type of comical situation that grabs people's attention. When will it be said? When will we actually deliver this communication? Where will it be said, and who will say it? So what will be said? How will it be said? When will it be said? Where? And who will actually say it? We'll talk about that in a minute. So what do we want to say? Well, we can go for some type of rational appeal for consumers. And today, obviously, with the pandemic that we're going through, if you've watched any television this week, you've seen a lot of commercials about raising awareness of the coronavirus and what you can do as a citizen to dampen the spread and minimize the spread of the coronavirus. So it's sort of like a rational appeal and also an emotional appeal, saying, please do your part. And that's what they're really trying to say. But a rational appeal relates to the audience's self-interest. Emotional appeal stirs up some positive or negative emotion, and hopefully a motivate to purchase something if that's what we're doing with our commercial or our advertising, and have some type of moral appeal possibly, where what's right and wrong. And so actually you've seen all 3 of those in these coronavirus public service announcements. Designing the message, the message content is what to say, how to say it. If you took a look at this ad for Reese's peanut butter, there's a couple things there that's very interesting as far as integrated marketing communications. One is the color. We all associate this color possibly with Reese's because they've always stuck with this particular shade of orange. Also notice the font script of Reese's. This is very consistent across all of their advertising and marketing communications. Choosing the channels or the media that we're going to go with. Obviously, I talked about how if I was trying to advertise or get some type of message out to 18 to 24-year-olds, I might go to social media, but texting or internet chat might be a way to do it. Face-to-face. If I'm selling something that is high priced or needs a lot of detailed instructions to a potential buyer, then I may select a face-to-face or personal selling. A lot of us will get phone calls from political candidates or telemarketers. There's a lot of mail or email. So this personal communication involves a lot of different types or a lot of elements: face-to-face, phone, mail, texting, and choosing that correct channel is important. When we're talking about personal communications, one thing that we have to remember is opinion leaders have a dramatic impact on someone's decision. So who would be an opinion leader? Well, for instance, if I was selling pharmaceuticals and I was selling an antibiotic for children, obviously physicians who specialize in the treatment of children, pediatricians, would be opinion leaders, because they would be people who specifically, that's where their specific expertise lies. Also, maybe a doctor from a university that does research on antibiotics in children. That would be an opinion leader. Usually opinion leaders are experts in a specific field. Buzz marketing, obviously, is when we try to spread information quickly about a product or a service. And it's almost like going viral. Something spreads quickly through the promotional channels. It might be called buzz marketing. A lot of times that happens especially with social media. Non-personal communication can communicate just as well. And the example that I give here is when you walk into an Apple store, the atmosphere itself actually sends a message subliminally about Apple's products. It's very clean, it's very neat, it's very sophisticated. You get an air of high technology just by walking into the store. So there's a lot of ways that we can communicate with customers. Now think about integrated marketing communications for Apple. Every Apple store that you walk into looks identical, looks exactly the same. No matter if you walk into one in Pittsburgh or you walk into one in San Francisco, they all look the same. That's consistent, and that's part of IMC, or integrated marketing communications. Selecting a message source, a lot of times companies will have spokespeople that they will choose to talk about their products. Could be, usually it's an entertainer or an athlete, someone who is very widely known and famous. But it could be a healthcare provider or someone on television, like on the Holiday Inn commercials that say, I'm not a doctor, but I play one on TV or whatever. So the point here is they're trying to make an impact based on the familiarity of the source itself. So if your favorite actor is on television, you may wait, I want to see what they have to say. Not that they know anything more than you do, but again, it's a popular way to get a message out there. And then collecting feedback, finding out what customers like and don't like. A lot of times ads are pulled quickly and there's a change made. And a lot of times they get positive feedback. You'll see the ad run for a long time, or you'll see the same type of social media run. Collecting feedback is important. We're getting close to the end here, but what about the budget? How do companies budget money to spend on their promotion mix? Because it's very expensive. First method they mention here is the affordable method, and it's just sort of like what management determines. Says maybe at the beginning of the budgeting year, they say, well, we're going to allot $10,000 for advertising or our promotion mix throughout the year. And I will tell you that most companies sort of do a collection of these, sort of a little bit of this, a little bit of that. The percentage of sales method is one way that some companies might decide on their promotional budget. So they might say, well, if our budget, our sales are budgeted at $10 million, we think that we're going to have to spend at least 10% of that on the promotion mix in order to get that $10 million in sales. So a percentage of sales is one way. Another way is the competitive parity method. And I will tell you this, just from being in business as many years as I have been, that this is probably one of the most popular ones. In other words, a lot of times companies simply react to what their competitors are doing. So if a competitor puts a television commercial on TV or in the newspaper or on the radio or in social media, their competitors are likely to follow. It just happens. That's just the way it is. When I owned my medical equipment company, one of the things that I did early on, and part of my promotional mix, was to get the word out that I offered free delivery. And that was very impactful for my business. Gained a lot of business quickly just simply because I delivered free of charge. It didn't take long for my competitors to do the same thing. Not only to offer free delivery, but also to advertise that. And then the final one here is the objective and task method. And if you think about it, again, it's a combination of all of them, really, to be realistic with you. But the objective and task method basically says that we have certain objectives in the marketplace, and in order to achieve those, we have to do some type of promotion or put some type of promotion mix together. How much is that going to cost us in order to meet that objective? So if our objective is to gain 10% market share in the first quarter, we're going to have to do some type of promotion to do that. How much is it going to cost us to get that 10% market share? So looking back, the affordable method, we always want to stay within budget. Percentage of sales method, competitive parity, reacting to what our competition does, and the objective and task method. It's almost, like I said, a combination of all four. But it's important that you understand what these are as you move through your career. So we've talked about the concept of how IMC basically will deliver a consistent, compelling, and clear message. And we want to make sure that our promotion mix is very coordinated. In other words, if we have something on television, let me give you a really good example. Lots of times you'll see companies advertise something on television, and they'll have a commercial. A lot of times you will see a variant of that commercial on social media, and it's very coordinated. One company that comes to mind is the State Farm commercials, where State Farm has these agents wearing red shirts, and they're kind of comical. One of them deals with athletes, but you will find those on television. You'll find those in newsprint. You'll find those on billboards. You'll find those in social media and in digital marketing. That is a coordinated promotion mix that they've created, and it's just one of the things that companies have to do today. So as we're looking at this promotion mix, one of the things that we have to understand is that advertising can reach many people. And it's important to really determine what media these customers are more than likely to notice your product on. Is it Facebook? Is it television? Is it newsprint? Personal selling is really important and effective when the decision is very complex and it's high risk. So if we need to build customer relationships and we need them to really have a conviction for the product in order to purchase it. If you're selling $1 million computer system to a company or $1 billion system, it's going to take a personal selling mix to do that. Maybe multiple people are going to be involved. When I was with Xerox, one of the main accounts that I had was United States Steel. And United States Steel at that time was still a very huge company. And in order to sell to that company, and I was the lead sales manager on that account, I had a team of people, and we were all working together towards a goal of getting them to purchase massive amounts of office equipment for their locations. And that personal selling was the best way to go about that. Sales promotion, we talked about that, how it includes coupons and flyers and maybe an ad in the paper. Public relations, we talked about that as well. And how that can be favorable or unfavorable depending on what it is. And it's never paid for. It's always free. But you need a team of people to help guide that so that it's mainly favorable. Direct and digital. And the only thing that I want you to get from this is the push and pull strategy and know the differences between it. In a push strategy, the producer is actually pushing marketing activities to the retailers and wholesalers who do the same to the consumers. Okay? So they're pushing their product to the consumer through their promotional mix. In the pull strategy, it's a little different. The producer actually, their promotional mix goes to the consumer and tries to pull it through the chain. In other words, let me give you a really good example of this. In pharmaceuticals, sometimes they will advertise on television what their new pill can do. That's directed at the consumer. But the consumer can't buy those pills off the shelf. They actually have to go to the doctor to get them. So they're actually pulling, they're exposing their advertising to the consumer and then having the consumer actually go and demand it from the retailers and the wholesalers. I hope that's clear because I don't know if I made that as clear as I could have. A push strategy would be a television commercial for Budweiser, where it goes out and you're just pushing it through. You even you have maybe a television commercial, then maybe you have some promotional tools that you give to your retailers and wholesalers so they can put them up in the supermarkets, and then the consumers see that and they purchase. In the pharmaceutical scenario, the producer has the television commercial that the consumers see, but the consumer has to go and demand it from whoever. Okay? So there's a difference between a push and a pull strategy. So that integrating that promotional mix, again, is just making sure that our brand message and our selling points are each coordinated, have similar logos and recognizable colors and symbols, and that we're all sort of saying this or telling the same story, making sure that we integrate it throughout and making sure that it's very consistent. Really quick, we have to make sure that we're socially responsible, obviously, so we can't claim things that aren't true. We have to conform to federal, state, and local regulations. We have to avoid deceptive and false advertising. And all of our communications have to be open and honest. So we have to be socially responsible as we're creating our communications. Same thing with personal selling. We can't offer bribes. We can't accept bribes. We have to follow all the rules of fair competition. And so it's very important. It's one of the things why I think I was always very honest when I was in sales. I would never say anything that wasn't true. I would never, ever bash the competition, which a lot of people in my industry had a tendency to do, and it wasn't looked upon favorably by the customer. So I would go in and talk to a customer. I would never say anything bad about my competition, and that was respected, I think, by my customers. So do not disparage competitors or their products. And I think that is all there is for this chapter. I hope you got something from it. I hope all of you are safe and healthy wherever you are. If you have any questions, please let me know. But take care, and I'll talk to you next time.